Hey there, kiddos, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Uncle Frank. I hope that you are having a great day. And in today's video, I'm going to be sitting back in my very squeaky chair, relaxing and having a little conversation with all of you guys about buying and selling cards online, and more importantly, more specifically, talking about how to fill out an inventory to buy and sell online. Because, yeah, apparently a few of you guys are curious how one goes about acquiring inventory for things like TCG Player and eBay. And this should be a quicker video because, in truth, there's four, but really kind of three things you can do in order to get inventory to sell. Now, obviously, the first one, the one that I don't really count as an option, is to just use your own personal collection. Cards you've already owned from your time as a player, collector, etc., of whatever card game in question you might be interested in selling. You know, if you have a large Pokemon collection, you can take some of those cards that you've been building up and storing away, putting in binders and boxes, etc., and just put that up for sale. And that totally does work, especially as a starting inventory, but it's not really sustainable long term if you have no other source of inventory coming in. You get what I'm saying? You know, you sell all those Pokemon cards you had as a personal collection, and then they're gone. No, in terms of sustainable inventory, stuff that keeps coming and fueling your sales, you know, there's three real main ways to do it. And a little bit of a spoiler warning, basically every store out there across the states is doing some combination of these three options, just so we're all clear. Some will do, you know, primarily one, some will do primarily the other, but most will do some mix of the three. So option number one for getting your inventory, of course, is the easiest. Just buying and cracking open boxes of whatever product you're curious to start selling. You know, if you're interested in Pokemon, grabbing some Pokemon boxes, perhaps not at the current market prices, buying some Pokemon boxes, ripping those boxes open, and just throwing the singles you pull online is totally a valid way to get your inventory going. And in a dry enough market, or I suppose I should say a declined enough market, it's actually really cool to find some cheap boxes online for certain games like Yu-Gi-Oh, for instance, and just rip those open, because the singles inside will sometimes be worth more than the box itself, even at bulk prices. That is a thing that does happen quite often, believe it or not. Option two is to buy collections. There are loads of people, okay, who are looking to sell off the cards that they've assembled for a quick buck. And either they will go into their local stores and see what the store is offering for the collection, or they will turn to online places like Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, although I confess I have not made a purchase on Craigslist in some time. That place does seem to have basically dried up. But it does exist, so I feel like I kind of have to mention it. And other online like flea markets, Discord groups, etc. They will usually be in a binder, though sometimes they will at least do you the decency of having all the cards in a nice long box, so it's easier to sort through them and pull them out. But yeah, that's option number two. And then, of course, option three is the one that I do the most, and that's just buying bulk. Buying the cheapest, lowest quality possible cards for the lowest dime possible. You know, you get a big old stack of cards here for basically nothing. I mean, look at this bad boy. This cost me like $3. I love it. The benefits of each of these options is perhaps obvious, but I'll say it anyway. You know, if you're cracking product, the benefit is you have a chance of pulling insane value. You know, you crack open a box of Pokemon, you pull the hit's worth more than the box. So not only are you guaranteeing value, but you also have a lot of inventory after that value has already been made. You know, if you pull a $600 Pokemon card out of a $300 box, you got it made because the box itself was basically free, plus all the extra stuff. The downside is you can get totally hosed on a box. That does happen quite a bit. There's a reason they call cracking packs gambling. Because, man, you can and often do lose value, especially if the pull rates for the box in question, for the set in question, are particularly bad. The pros and cons of buying collections is, well, the pro, of course, is at if you're buying at 70, 75%, 80% of market, depends on the game, obviously. There are, it's a steady percentage to make profit off of, you know, accounting for fees and all that jazz online. And also, it gets you a lot of diversity for perhaps, I think, what I think is the largest diversity for your buck, you know, the widest spread, because people are going to bring you all kinds of crap. You never know what set or what game it's going to be from, and you know, you can really be surprised by what comes through the door. And the problem is it can be a hassle, especially if you don't always have the money on hand. I've said it before and I'll say it again. When you are a physical brick and mortar location, or if you're a vendor at a place, you know, it is in your best interest to have as much cash on hand as possible, because you never know what someone's going to bring you as a collection. And when they do, you very rarely, you know, with the exceptions, of course, of like fake cards, or they're all damaged, or it's all really worthless, you know, you really don't want to say no to people when they bring you collections, because if you say no to them once, they're unlikely to bring you the next collection that comes down the road if they have cool stuff then. Or at least that's my opinion on it. I know that there's other totally valid reasons for why you might not want to buy a collection that particular day. But the big one, the biggest wall that I find most people tend to bring up, is just that they don't have money. So if you're a physical store, the big con to buying collections is you always need money to buy more collections. And then, of course, when it comes to bulk, the pros are super low entry point with a lot of potential return on investment. You know, you buy 1,000 cards for $3 or $5 or $8, depends on the game. And you only have to sell like 10% of the cards in the box to make your money back, and sometimes bulk can be ludicrously worth it. But of course, the cons are bulk takes up space. It's bulk. It's going to take up space. And boy, howdy, does it take up space. You know, it adds up real quick if you're not paying attention to it. So those are the three major ways most stores will acquire their inventory. And like I said at the start, most stores will do some combination of the three. They will buy bulk actively and buy collections actively, and they'll crack their own product. You know, if a store gets 3 cases of the newest Pokemon set, it's very likely that they're going to crack open at least one of those boxes just to have some singles in their display case. That's just totally a thing that happens. And there are other ways. Like I said, you could totally start off with a personal collection. You can buy directly from the publisher, like Wizards of the Coast does Secret Layers. So you could, in theory, as a store, buy Secret Layers directly from Wizards and flip those. But, it doesn't really seem like the greatest financial decision at the moment, since a lot of Secret Layers are not great. Don't get me wrong, there are some bangers out there, but some of them are just not great. But in general, I hope that that little breakdown has quenched your curiosity, and then I hope that you guys enjoyed. So if you did, please like, share, subscribe, leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. Did I hit all the right spots? Did I inform you guys of something today? I hope so. And of course, check out the Discord, Patreon, TCG player link. Gotta do those in order. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Ciao. Boop. Boop.